Jazakallah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I have the privilege of talking to you today about some of the science that we're involved in. Every scientific investigation should have a problem. And I'd like to tell you about the problem of pancreatitis, which is a life-threatening inflammatory disorder of the pancreas. Patients will state that this is the worst pain that they have ever felt. And drugs or medications can cause pancreatitis. And what's shown here is a study that we performed among children who suffered from pancreatitis, and where we looked at the various drugs that were associated. And the one that I'd like to talk to you about over this glimpse about our research is a drug called asparaginase. Asparaginase is a crucial cancer drug for acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Pancreatitis develops in 10% of users, and about a third of them have severe symptoms. Thus, there is a major unmet need to come up with methods to rescue or prevent asparaginase-associated pancreatitis. Well, how should we know that there really is a potential preventative or treatment out there for asparaginase pancreatitis that is worth investigating? The Holy Quran gives us the conviction that Almighty Allah can provide cures for virtually every ailment. When it records the statement of Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, who states, "And when I fall ill, it is He who restores me to health." He meaning Allah Ta'ala. And so, armed with this conviction that there must be a cure for every ailment, we sought a clue to asparaginase pancreatitis, which was that asparaginase alters cellular metabolism. Specifically, it depletes the amino acid asparagine, which can offset the homeostasis of various other metabolic pathways. And every good scientific investigation should have a testable hypothesis. And the one we came up with is that asparaginase pancreatitis patients have altered metabolic pathways that predispose them to pancreatitis. And we sought to test this hypothesis using a method called global metabolomics, which is a comprehensive quantitative analysis of metabolites. Practically speaking, any substances less than 1,500 Daltons in size, and usually referring to intermediates or products of metabolism. And what's shown here are the categories of metabolites, and we were interested in amino acids and lipids. What's shown here is a schematic of our methods. Firstly, we extract metabolites from patient plasma samples, and these are samples from what's called a case control, that is, cases of patients who took asparaginase and went on to develop pancreatitis, comparing them to controls, that is, patients who received asparaginase but never developed pancreatitis. And we take these samples and then separate the metabolites using ultra-high pressure liquid chromatography, and then detect those metabolites by tandem mass spectrometry. And then there's a whole lot of bioinformatics analysis that includes data extraction, as well as identification of differences in pathway signatures. And in this glimpse, I'm going to walk you through this exciting exercise, which has already yielded some provocative findings. In order to process the large amount of metabolomics data, it's important to understand how we can visually analyze the data. And a common method is what's called a volcano plot. And it is simply where each of the metabolites, when they're compared between two groups, is compared between biological impact and statistical significance. And a volcano emerges, as shown in these real data, where the colored dots or metabolites tell us about differences. And again, this is a glimpse. I won't go into any real discussion, but here's a pathway analysis of those comparisons, and we find that there are pathways that are differentially expressed. And thus, our current findings supported our hypothesis that AAP patients have altered metabolic pathways. We speculate that this is a mechanism by which these patients are unable to handle the stress of asparaginase and succumb to pancreatitis. And in summary, we identified an important problem, which was drug-induced pancreatitis, specifically with asparaginase. We formulated a testable hypothesis, chose the right method to test it using global metabolomics. We identified altered metabolic pathways, and we were guided by the Quranic conviction that Allah the Almighty can provide insight and cures from this knowledge. Jazakallah.